All right, senior home business family, how you guys doing today? Happy Wednesday. Brittany's in the house and Matt's over here in California, and we are joining together, together today to talk about the wave is coming. Do not leave this channel because we're going to go over statistics and data, and we're also going to get into some practical points and how to help you out in establishing your senior placement business or running your senior placement business. Maybe you already have one and you want some pointers and what to do. We give you some pro tips, right? We try our best. I know it's our free content, Brittany. It's not our Senior Placement Institute. It's not all the courses and everything we do in between, the coaching you do on Thursdays and all that, but we try our best in the free content. But before we get into this, I thought it was kind of funny, Brittany, because you never know what kind of comments you're going to get on YouTube or wherever else. But we had the strangest comment that we've ever received just yesterday. And I want to share it with our audience today, and I thought it might be kind of fun. Somebody out there really thinks Brittany is AI. The person put, dude, that lady is AI. I put, actually, no, I've known Brittany since 2019, right, Brittany? We've known each other since 2019. Brittany, can you raise your arms up in the air? Okay, can you smile? Can you talk? What do you want to say right now? Can you say, well, actually, let me not tell you what to say. Say what's on your mind right now.
It's a beautiful day.
Oh my gosh. I mean, are you real?
I'm real.
You're real. Oh,
My real office.
it's real.
Things move.
I just thought that was funny. I said, yeah, you can ask any one of our 300 students if she's real or not. So I just thought it'd be kind of fun, but you have to expect that when you get into social media, you're going to have some wild people out there. And I get the whole AI thing, so I'm not complaining about the person. So, I'm not bagging you today, but I just want you to know that Brittany is real. It's not me just talking and some AI figure next to me. We get a lot of that today. So before we get into the topic, also, I want to get into show you rather just for a couple seconds. Don't forget about the TSL CRM. You can click the link down below and watch a demo. And if you want to sign up, it is half the price of most people that are out there. And it's all kinds of different things. It's customizable and all that good stuff. So let's get into the topic today, Brittany, why people are here. Let's get into the wave is coming. One statistic that we all know, and we're getting some of the others that you may not know, and again, some practical points to help you out. But Brittany, by 2030, all the baby boomers will be 65 and older. That is incredible. We are in 2026. We're less than 4 years away. That's why you're seeing so many senior living communities go up. That's why you see so many seniors that are in need of assistance. Now, that could be at home care, right? That may not be always assisted living. It may not always be memory care. It may not always be independent. It might be a 55 and older, community they live or something else. I get all that. But nevertheless, that is a huge opportunity for people out there that really want to help people. And we always say help people first because, Brittany, we're in the business. We make a lot from what we do. I get it. But we're in the business of attracting money based on the people we help. So what Brittany and I don't do is we don't go out chasing money and try to sell what we do. We just go out and serve people in the best of our ability and establish a brand. And then people contact us. We help them. And then we end up getting money. Right, Brittany? Is that how we do it?
Yeah, we're paid on the back end. So like you said, we don't go looking for sales or looking for money. We just look for families to help, and it results in us getting paid.
Absolutely. And Brittany, look at this. The 65 and plus population will reach 82 million by 2050. Now, I pulled up statistics, what United States, this is all in the United States, what the United States population is projected to be in 2050. And it's somewhere around 371 million. So if my math is right, that means the senior population by 2050 will represent 22 to 23% of the overall population. That is insane. And I did the math too, because I'm 57 today, the day of this video. I will be 81. So I might be one of those people that you'll be helping out there. So I trust that you'll actually get in the business and actually get going with it. And needless to say, this is 85 plus are the fastest growing age group. So some of the people would kind of go up to the 65 population going, well, just because you're 65 doesn't mean you're ready for assisted living. I get that. I'm 57. I'm 8 years away from 65. I don't think I'm going to be ready for assisted living at that point either. But man, when you get to this 85 plus is the fastest age group that's out there. Those individuals there's a higher probability that they need assisted living versus someone at 65, my age and lower, right? So it's a huge opportunity. And but Brittany, speak about this one. I really believe that families today are getting smaller, so care needs are bigger. And what I mean by that is, my wife she's one of 10. She has 9 siblings. I'm an only child. And I think a lot of the families are getting smaller, maybe based on the economical situations, maybe the retirement or the job situation or whatever it may be. The retirement plans. So I was going to say they're not ready to retire when they're having kids, but they're getting smaller, and so when mom or dad needs to go into assisted living, what can happen is there's not enough kids to take care of them.
I agree. I think, yeah, they're definitely getting smaller. And also, I think what I see a lot is that families have relocated out of state. So we get a lot of families that maybe only 1 or 2 children are still present in the area and the others moved out of states. There's only so much they can do to help mom or dad. I know that you experience this too, that a lot of times it also can just fall on 1 or 2 children, even if they do have a large family. So I think even like if it's actually a large family, or even if it's a large family that only a couple people kind of take the reins, I see that a lot, where it's so much work on 1 or 2 family members to really take care of their loved one. And I think a lot of it's just really hard for them to be able to take care of their loved ones. And then I don't know if you have this in here or that we talked about it, but also the fact that they're kind of that sandwich generation. I see that a lot, where they're still trying to raise their kids in high school or college. They're still supporting their kids through college, going to sports games, going to whatever they need to do. I have families that the children are still driving their children to hockey practice 3 times a week. So it's really hard for them to take care of their loved ones.
Yeah, definitely. And that's real world life story. I mean, that's just right where people are at. And, one last thing, Brady, before we get into the points, is that senior living demand is outpacing supply. I mean, you can't have this population growing at such a incredible speed and not outpace the supply. That's why you are seeing senior living communities going up all over the place, whether it be residential care homes, kind of a smaller 6-bed kind of deal, the boarding care, opportunities, or larger communities. Now they take longer, obviously, the building's bigger and it takes longer to buy the land and develop and build the building, all that stuff, right? To construct it. So, but all of them are going up, but it's getting harder by the minute to keep up with the demand. And so what does that say to you out there as an entrepreneur? Maybe you're in real estate, insurance, maybe you just want a new career, altogether, make a complete change. This is a great opportunity for you to help people. There's so many seniors that are moving every single day. And we love doing the math on it, right? If you do 5 move-ins per month, you pretty much got a $250,000 business, because the average move-in cost is $5,000. That's average. That could be lower, it could be a lot more. But beyond that, beyond the money that you're going to make, just think how many seniors you're going to be able to interact with, the families you're going to be able to spend time with, and go through this is a traumatic experience for them. It's not that you're counseling them, but you are listening to them. You are listening to their story. You are spending quality time with them, whether it be in a meeting like this, online or in person, whether you're doing actually a virtual tour and walking them through the process, or a physical tour, going to the community with them. You are spending time with. This is a major decision on their part. So this is the opportunity for you. So again, going back, the wave is coming. It's whether you join it or not. The wave is coming. It's so many seniors, so much opportunity. So are you going to jump in, or are you going to remain on the sidelines? People always talk. I get this question a lot, Brittany. I get a question that, is this business saturated? And I always come back with, how many senior placement agents do you really know? Most times they don't know any of them. And a lot of times they never even heard of the business. So I get the question, though, because everybody wants to kind of get in on something on the front end. They don't want to get in on the back end, right? It'd be like, let's take crypto. It's kind of a bad example today, because to date of this video, crypto is kind of like going way down. But when it was going way up, or even times when there's a green candle that spikes, then people are like, oh my gosh, I can make quick money. And they put their money in at that point. And what inevitably happens is it comes back down. So I get the question, because no one wants to get in at the top of the mountain They want to get at the bottom or at least close to it so they can grow in this industry. And I'm telling you, if you don't believe anything I say, I've done this YouTube channel since 2019. So this will be the 7th year, I guess. So going on 7 years. And this is a golden opportunity for you to get involved in this business. You are not late to the party. You are not early, but you're not late. And for the next, I think personally, Brittany, for the next 2 decades, this business is going to continue to explode. Now, will it morph into other things? Will there be regulations? Will there be changes? I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it depends on, whoever the politicians are in your area, per state. I mean, whatever is going on, right? A lot of things are going to change. But nevertheless, what's not going to change is the seniors getting older, right? Because age is not optional. It's inevitable. Right, Brittany? I mean, I don't know. I wish it was optional. I wish I could, if I'm 57, I think, if I have my 2 cents toward God and say, God, I love you. I mean, hey, I can't wait to see you. But I really wish, because what I know today, I really wish that I had a life that I could go all the way up to like 50, 55, and then bounce right back down to 30 again. And actually apply the things I know up here, because I didn't know anything at 30. That's why I'm so impressed with you, because at your age, 29, almost 30, right? Mm-hmm. You know a lot. You know a lot more than I ever knew at 30, and so much more successful than I was at 30. And I'm so appreciative of you, Brittany. But man, if I could just have another go at it, but I can't, right? It's not optional. So I got to move forward with it. But Brittany, talk about this. Is like families will need help whether we're ready or not, right? I mean, it's just here to stay. It's just what we're going through, and seniors will be taken care of.
Yeah, it's a need, usually, not a want, for what they're going through. The need for assisted living, memory care, like you had mentioned before with the small families, the families do need our help. A lot of families aren't able to go through this process alone. Just today, I had a lady text me that I'm doing an immediate move-in. She said, I have no idea how you do this every day. It is so stressful, and I never would have been able to figure this out without you. So there is a huge need. And we hear this stuff on a weekly, daily basis. And that doesn't mean that me and Matt are like amazing or like we're working miracles here. It's really just the fact that this is a wave that all these families do need help, and they don't know what to do. So it's going to happen again, whether, like you said, we're here or not. This industry is going to continue to expand, whether you're in it or not, and people still are going to have extreme needs. And I just see it getting even more, dire, that families need help, because to your point, a lot of the assisted living and memory cares are going up. That creates more need for families to need somebody like us, because there's so many options. I do want to add something, Matt, because I get this question. I wanted your opinion on it. So you mentioned that the supply is going, like, there's a lot of people that need senior living, and the demand's going up and the supply is getting littler. I've been asked this question. Well, does that mean that we won't need placement agents anymore? Do you have any input on that? I get that question a lot.
No. Yeah. My answer would be no. We will still need senior placement agents. This will be my point. Let's say the supply keeps going up, right? Our demand, and supply is down, right? So supply and demand. So there's all kinds of demand for this because there's so many seniors, but there's not as many senior living communities. And let's say they stop growing and they can't meet the demand. What'll happen is there'll be other alternatives. So there might be more alternatives to so you'll have senior living, you got in-home care, you've got a lot of different things you can go to. I mean, family just taking care of the seniors themselves. There's things now that are out there that are going directly through the provider and pharmacy, and having more of a non-hands-on approach, but more of accountability to make sure that seniors are taking their medication. Because a lot of times when seniors get in this predicament, it's them not taking the medication properly because they don't go to the doctor as often because they can't get there or choose not to, or it's just difficult to get there. Consequently, what happens, they end up falling. That's the main reason people end up in assisted living. So they fall, go to the hospital, go to skilled nursing. So my point is this: I think it will always be here. I just think it's going to change, right? So the regulations is a kind of a step of change, right? And that's a good thing because, in my own opinion, anytime the government starts regulating certain things, It's because it's solidifying the industry. Okay, you are a group of people that are providing an incredible service and making a lot of money. So the government wants to do what? They want to come in, obviously, get a piece of that action. So it verifies what we do is legit. But so we have that. So, but there's also going to be other changes. Like if you're in an area, I don't know, I've never done a placement in Montana, for instance, but I can't imagine in the hills of Montana, there's a whole lot of senior living communities. So if I was there, I mean, are they going to build communities? Maybe. And guys, you can drop down in the comments. Let me know. I'm not speaking out of turn. I mean, I've never placed anybody in Montana. I've only been to Montana, I think, once, or near Montana. I don't even, but I don't even know anything about the market. So I'm just assuming there's not a whole lot of opportunity there. And if there's not, then that's going to be a stressful time for seniors that need assisted living. Now, there's going to be other cultures too within the United States that would never go to assisted living. So that's other alternatives. So just because they're 85 and above, or they're at the age and they're experiencing chronic conditions and they need assisted living, they may not go. I mean, I know certain people. I just talked to a lady yesterday, and she's a realtor, and she's thinking about getting in her business, but because of her culture, she said her family would never do this. My wife, for instance, she's Hispanic. 1 of 10, like I said earlier, they take care of their own. I mean, they probably would do this if it was the last resort, but it's not the first option, first choice. My culture, being a Caucasian, it's like the first choice. I don't know. It's just a different mindset. It doesn't make one right or wrong, but it just understanding that it's going to be many opportunities. Anyway, long answer, Brittany, but I would say, yes, we're always going to be in need. However, there's going to be other options that are on the plate. I think it's imperative that the senior placement agents to stay informed, stay knowledgeable of these other opportunities. I've got one right now that I really believe that is happening, and I'm off the, away from my senior placement business and TSL we do, and Brittany, all the coaching. I'm doing a lot of studying on this other thing because I think honestly it's going to press forward with seniors and help them there. Just another option. I want to be, as a senior placement agent, more knowledgeable about the market, but also more knowledgeable about the whole industry in and of itself and the options. Because again, just because someone is in need of assistance doesn't mean let's send them to assisted living, right? We talked about last week, I think, Brittany, a little bit about not just placing the senior, but getting them in a place where they belong. And if you're just looking at, not you specifically, but us all together collectively, if we're just looking at a senior who needs assistance and just automatically assuming that's assisted living and they need to be placed over there because that's the closest place and the place they can afford, might not be the best fit. And so it's imperative that we all understand all these different options. And so now the cool thing about it is you don't need to be a medical expert. I'm not a medical expert. Now, my wife was in medical 15 years. I'm not even sure she would classify herself as an expert. I'm nowhere near an expert. When I got in this industry years ago, I didn't know diddly. Man, I didn't know the terms. I didn't know how it all worked. I knew sales and management. That's what I knew. And before that was church, with you being a youth director. Outside of that, that's what I knew. Sales and management. And I get in this industry and I'm like, man, talk to people and hear their story. Okay, then we just get their story a little bit on paper. Can we just move forward and try to convince them, persuade them to move in? That's the sales component. And unfortunately, families are going to encounter a lot of that with communities. It's not bagging the communities, guys. There's a lot of good ones out there. You're fantastic. But you're going to have some communities that maybe when I first started, I'll blame it on me. When I first started, I thought I had to persuade people to come to the community because I was from a sales background, right? I was just like, well, this is what you do. So, but you don't need to be a medical expert, right, Brittany? I mean, am I not telling the truth there?
No, not at all. Like me and you both, I knew very minimal. Definitely didn't go to school to be a nurse, didn't go to any kind of nursing school or anything like that. I claim to not be a medical expert at all, but I will say as you do this business, you learn so much and you are able to guide the families. We're not providing the care, so we are not getting into like the nitty gritty on daily care needs as far as making sure we can provide them, but we are able to guide them because you do learn a lot of medical things when you do this business, but you don't need to know them going into it.
Here, we got an important question out there, Brittany. It's a $9,000 question. How should I approach case managers? Boy, that's so good. I love that question because, whether you're talking about social workers, you're talking about case managers, discharge planners, you're talking about medical professionals that are extremely busy. And what they're doing is they're assisting people in discharge, right? So the case manager, I think it might be a little different than the discharge planner, but I think I hear your point. How would you approach them? Anything in life, and this is from a traditional standpoint, right? I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this business, but traditionally, you obviously want to reach out to them. I would personally, if I'm dealing with a case manager, would cold call and find out where they are. Because sometimes, and I'm pretty sure it's probably different in every area. In my area, the case managers and discharge planners of hospitals are in a separate building from the hospital. I don't know if that's always the case. I take that back. There's one hospital, they're actually in the building, but the other three, they're apart from the building. And one particular hospital, they actually move them around every so often. So people like me who know where they are don't bug them all the time. So I go there next time and I'm like, man, where are they at? They used to be right here. So, but Brittany, any 2 cents what you do? I would cold call. I would drop off a business card. I would try to engage in a short abbreviated conversation. I would try to extract information as best you can. Again, it may not happen on the first visit. It may not happen at all, but it may happen through an email or something like that, where you figure out there's some sort of list that you can be on. The hospitals that I deal with, there's always a list that you can get on. They can't, at least the hospitals in my area, they don't typically give out like, okay, hey, you need assisted living, call Matt, call Senior Home Business. They just typically hand the family a list. And I think I told this story once before, Brittany. I don't know if it was just the students on this channel, but I had this hospital. It was St. Agnes, but I do a lot of business with them, so they're great. But several years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I wasn't quite sure we were on the list. We were getting some information, getting some leads every now and then, but it's kind of like I thought I should get more. And it's like, man, how many? I was really inquisitive about how many people were on the list. And so what I did was we ended up reaching out to the case manager, and the case manager took my phone call. We had a conversation about it, and she goes, "Oh, I'll just send the list over to you so you can see it." It's all beautiful, thank you. And she goes, "I'll just email it to you right now." I said, "Okay, great." So I purposely kept the conversation going so I could look at the email. And I noticed one thing about the email and the list. There were 6 people in one column, 6 on the other. So 2 columns of 6. Guess where my business was? Bottom right. Well, bottom right, people don't read bottom right up. People read left, right, up, down. So I wanted my company to be in the top left. Well, how was I going to do that? So what I did was I still had this conversation going on, this kind of juggling act, having a conversation going. I'm looking at this list on the screen, and I noticed something. There was 2 senior placement agencies that were no longer in business. So there's really 10. And I told the case manager, I said, "Hey, by the way, before we get you off the phone, I just want to let you know there's 2 agencies on this list that are no longer in business." She goes, "Oh my gosh, which ones?" So I told her about it. She goes, "Okay, I guess we're going to have to reconfigure the list." I said, "I'll tell you what I'll do for you if you want." She goes, "What?" She goes, I said, "We'll be glad to do that for you. If you want, I'll send it to you in a PDF and you can use it." But you don't mind doing that? Took something off her plate. But what did I do? It was a strategic move. I went from the bottom right, to the top left. And it was delicious. It was a much better, because when people got that list, I mean, it's just like, that's what I do, right? I kind of go up here and not saying the top left is going to be the best company. It may not be. We might not be the best company out there. I don't know. I think we are, but we may not. But top left, I think that's where people are going to kind of go with their eyeballs. So, Brittany, any other words you want to mention about the case manager?
I would just keep it personable. This is like a time for you to try to build a relationship more than just asking for leads. I would also cold call and try to find out where they're at, see if you can swing by for 10 minutes. I still do this years into my business. I just did it last week, got a brand new hospital. They were super open to us coming in. It was a very quick conversation. I knew they were overwhelmed. Another way to get into case managers, just learn your market. the more you know your market, the more you're able to connect with them. And I will say, in my experience, they are the hardest to get to, like Matt said. And they do typically want you to have the most confidence, if you want to say it that way. They can read through if you don't know things. So I would say just, fly by the seat of your pants, be real, be authentic, and give them value, like you mentioned. And usually they're really open, at least in my case, once they get to know you and you do a good job, they're super open to working with you. I luckily do get direct referrals. We don't have a list, so that's nice. But it could take a while to get to that point. So just be persistent, respectful, and I definitely would cold call and try to see. My line is, do you have 5 minutes for me just to drop by and see how I can help you, or just give you my info? Very low pressure. Yeah.
And what I would recommend too, Brittany, on top of that, the individual that put that comment, you might be a seasoned senior placement advisor, so don't take this the wrong way. But if you're brand new, let's talk to the newbies. If you're brand new, I would not start going with the case managers. You want to start practicing, man. You got to practice your craft, because it is something that you need to fully understand the process, and there's systems in place. There's all kinds of different things we talked about on this channel, but you got to build your confidence up. And so I would start with talking to the mirror, talking to my spouse. And then when I venture out to the general public, the marketplace, I would purposely maybe go to a low-end skilled nursing, short-term rehab place that has maybe less than 50 beds. And maybe even go to a long-term one that you won't get any business from, and just treat it as practice, right? Brittany and I were talking about off the air. That's what you do as an athlete, right? You have exhibition games and you go to practice. You got to do that in this business. You got to do the exact same thing. You've got to practice. So don't go to the case manager right away if you're not confident in what you're going to say. You don't have a brand, you don't have a company. Don't just go there. And I'm not saying you're going to do that, individual that put that comment, but I just want to give you a little bit of advice. Warm up to that, because that's kind of, in my opinion, when you get to the hospitals, you're kind of stepping into the big leagues, and you really need to be able to know how to navigate those things, because if you go in there cold turkey, not really knowing what to say, it's probably not going to pan out too well for you, I don't think. So, okay, let's get to another one, Brittany. I don't know if we're going to get all these today. My gosh, man, we're flying through here, but people with big hearts win in this business. What I love about this, it's not rocket science, guys. It's not you have to go to Ivy League school and figure all this stuff out. We're going to help you through the Senior Placement Institute, but there are key strategies and key things you need to do in today's market. And that's what Brittany and I do on a consistent basis. So if you want to learn from somebody that knows how to do this business in 2026, not teaching in theory something we did 15 years ago when things have changed, then you might want to click the link down below and watch the Senior Placement Institute webinar, Brittany, and learn. I just had a couple comments yesterday and day before from individuals that spoke very highly of the Senior Placement Institute. They said it was a lot more information than they ever thought possible. It's 42 modules, and this is true, guys. I just received this yesterday and the day before. And one of those individuals, Brittany, which I hear this quite often, spoke very highly of you in terms of your ability to communicate. And maybe that's why that person thought you were AI, because you're such a good communicator. So that's probably why they thought you were AI, right? But I mean, you get into it, empathy builds trust faster than expertise. Is that right, Brittany? What's your 2 cents on that?
Yeah, I think like we always talk about, just being a sponge and being able to get into this business with a big heart. You will learn everything you need to know. You are going to know more, especially if you do have some kind of modules and things that you're learning. You're going to know more than the families do. So just being a listening ear, to be honest, is enough with most families, and just being able to guide them. So if you're empathetic, have the good listening skills, the patience, and just the time to really work with them, that goes way further than being an expert. I don't even claim to be an expert, because I learn something new every single day. So at the end of the day, we're never going to be fully experts, in my opinion, but we're just here to help them.
Yeah, and that's the growth process, right? And I agree with you. I mean, you're not an expert. I'm not an expert. I never tell anybody I am. I mean, I try to come across in a way of communicating the knowledge that I have, and with confidence, but I never want anybody to think I'm an expert, because I don't know everything. And to your point, we do learn and grow each and every day. And it's important that when you're in this business, that we teach like an 80-10-10 principle, as far as like 80% of the business is marketing, 10% is acquiring referral agreements, and the other 10% is education. And the reason I always throw that in there, that applies to me too. You should be reading books. You should be subscribed to certain organizations and receiving certain emails and getting certain information, like a little bit of data that we just kind of showed at the beginning. That's kind of common knowledge. But if you want to get into more of Alzheimer's and different levels of dementia and all this kind of thing, you want to be knowledgeable of these things. Not that you have to know it all to be successful. It's just helpful, especially when families have certain questions, and you never know when that knowledge may serve you. You know, it's always better to be competent, right? And be able to go, oh yeah, and you kind of remember something you read or heard, and you kind of piece it together and speak with confidence, versus giving the deer in the headlight look. I don't know about that, you know. But you don't need to be an expert, and you went in this business with a big heart. I notice a lot of people that are right now, and I'm okay with it, but they're real big on getting these designations behind their names. You know, I saw one again yesterday, got another one right behind her name. And I know she doesn't do hardly any business. And it blows me away. It's like they think because they're putting designations behind her name, it's going to increase their leads. It's going to increase their amount of move-ins. Now, it doesn't necessarily hurt to be knowledgeable. Again, that's that 10%. But where are you putting more of your effort and energy? Is it in the 10% or is it in the 80% of the sweat equity of the marketing? Because that's where people are really successful. I know people that are extremely successful in life that don't have a formal degree. I think you're probably looking at one, because I don't have a formal degree. I went to Bible college for 1.5 years, and then I've done all these, you know, seminars and workshops, and I've been to countless other different things. And I'm really thankful for all that, but no formal education. I think I'm doing pretty well. You know, I got people that don't have a formal education. They're doing 10 times better than me. Now, that doesn't discredit education. We need to have education, and that's where the 10% comes in. But get into the more, I want to say, put the education piece there, because the big heart is the big deal. You've got to have a heart. That's something that Brittany can't coach. I can't coach. And that's why we discourage people sometimes when they want to get into the Senior Placement Institute. I've done this on 2 occasions. That's not like a lot, but where I've had 2 occasions where people, it was all about money. It was who cares about, you know, and they didn't say who cares about seniors, but just in their talk, it was just like, how can I get a move in tomorrow? I just want to get a move in. I just want to get some sales. You know, it was all about that. Man, you probably need to take a back seat a little bit, because it is more about being empathetic. And that's going to build trust more than your expertise, more than sales and things like that. Now, do I actually use sales in the business? Absolutely. Do I use the management side and the experience I've had in the past in the business? Absolutely. But it really should lead with being an advocate for seniors. That is the secret sauce to being successful in this business. If you don't have that, I'm telling you, you're not going to last. And that is the biggest thing. You need to have longevity in this business, be in it for the long term, right? Brittany's been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time. You know, I see people that start something and they get out, they quit. They go do something else. Start, quit, go do something else. And I get that, because that's what I did. I did that in my mid to late 30s, early 40s, kind of going in and out of sales jobs, looking for the right opportunity, the right place, and just couldn't be satisfied, because I always wanted to make a little bit more money and you know, be a little better conditions or whatever it may be, right? So with you out there, if you want to get in this business, you've got to have a heart as big as Texas, right where Brittany lives, right? If you do, we can teach you the strategies. We can teach you the current things that we're doing to date in 2026 to be successful. But if you don't have a heart for people and not willing to be an advocate for seniors, I would discourage you from getting this business. So let's bounce to 2 more real quick. My gosh, we got to get out of here, Brittany. Number 4, strategy turns compassion into sustainability. I would also add to scalability. Sustainability is one thing, you know, but scalability is another thing. I think you really need, Brittany, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you need systems in place to have scalability. Sustainability, you know processes. But if you know the process and you have systems in place, I think you can scale. What do you think about that?
I agree. Yeah. I mean, there's always growing pains in every aspect of any business. And I feel like to be able to grow and to sustain everything as well, you have to make sure that you have a process that works for you, that and also can work for if you do scale. A lot of us do start out as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, just one person. Me and you both have a team now. A lot of our students have a team now. So you have to make sure that you have some kind of plan, that you're not just, we just talked about this off camera, that you're not just completely just freewheeling it, don't have any business, acumen on how to run a business. And that way it doesn't turn into a hobby. We just talked about we talked about numbers in our business that we remembered we were in our business. So if you don't have a process, if you're not in it, a lot of times this can turn into a hobby really quick. So without having ways to do things that make sense, making sure that you know what you're doing and how you're doing it. Otherwise this could just become like a burnout completely from all aspects.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think a lot of people end up turning this into a side hustle. Yeah. I don't think it's wrong to be part-time while you still got your full-time business. I would actually encourage people to do that. But if you're just looking at it as a side hustle, something I may do, or when I get around to it, I might drop off a couple cards every now and then forget about it for a few weeks. And something like that, I would discourage you from getting involved in the industry altogether. The work is simple, but not always easy, right? The business model is simplistic. I always say that because it is. It's not rocket science. However, it's not easy in a lot of ways, but understanding the steps are clear and repeatable. And you got to know these. I just talked to someone yesterday. She runs a home care company and she wants to get in this business. And she wanted to jump right into the CRM that we have, right? And I'm thinking, okay, how much do you know about senior placement? She goes, well, I know a little bit about it, blah, blah, blah. So we got talking, kind of find out she didn't know as much as she thought she knew. And so I was discouraging her from getting the CRM without knowing the process. It's kind of like, okay, you have a car, but you don't have a driver's license. Matt has a plumbing business, which I don't. You don't want me to have a plumbing business. I got a plumbing business, but I got no wrenches and I don't know how to change pipes. I'm the last guy you want under your sink to fix your pipes. Guarantee it. But I know how to run a business, right? So it's with this kind of thing, the steps are clear and they're repeatable. You've got to understand next steps. That's the two biggest words in this industry is next steps. If you don't clearly understand this, it's going to be foggy. It's going to be very unclear and you're going to be very uncertain about what it is you're going to do. And when you do all that, you're going to be going at a snail's pace and probably going backwards. It's kind of like the old adage, you take a step forward, you take 2 steps back. You're going to be doing that a lot if you don't fully have a clear understanding of process and have systems in place. So it is easy or it is simple, but not easy. But the good news is when you get through all the systems and the process and you start working it, like I guarantee you, Brittany, whatever's thrown your way of a person coming into the process and this next steps, you probably treat it ultimately with sincerity. You're an advocate for seniors and all that, but you really don't have to think about what to do next. You just know what to do because you've done it hundreds and hundreds of times over. It's kind of like, guys, it's like tying your shoe, riding a bike. I mean, you ever think about tying your shoe, crossing the laces? Like, you don't think, you just do it. Riding a bike, if you know how to ride a bike, you don't even think about it. You just get on and start pedaling. You immediately got balance. Same with this business. When you do it and you do it consistently, you don't even think about it, but it's clear and repeatable. Okay. Last but not least, the opportunity is open, but it requires commitment, right, Brittany? I mean, it requires commitment. Doors open, but you still have to walk through it. So there's the opportunity. Brittany, talk a little bit about the Senior Placement Institute and just a little bit about what they can gain from that, because this is something you and I have taught together. Brittany teaches some of the modules by herself. I teach some by myself. We co-teach, which I enjoy those the best. I really love teaching with Brittany. She knows a lot. And we've got nothing but just rave reviews of people that have taken it because it's just the amount of information and not just information, but the information that leads to transformation into your life personally and to your business, right? So it's 42 modules. But Brittany, speak a little bit about that Senior Placement Business Senior Placement Institute. We'll go from there.
Yeah, I think it's both of our years of experience combined. And with that, we were able to really narrow it down. We could probably have done many 96 modules of things, but we were able to narrow it down to 42 modules, which is a lot. And we go from everything from walking into the business all the way to placing seniors and helping seniors, getting feedback from families on all the positive stuff that you do. So we really dig deep from sending invoices to actually talking to a family for the first time. So a lot of the process, how we talk today, it has to be sustainable. That is the process we teach. I could be biased, but I do believe after everything that I have heard, we teach it the right way, meaning that we are putting the seniors first. We stand by this. We're advocates for seniors. We also perform that in our daily businesses. So you're getting some insight exactly from people doing this every single day. Me and Matt both do placement every day and have teams that do it as well. So I think there's a lot of value there. I agree. I've heard feedback that we do have the most comprehensive package. I really do think that we put our all into it. And we continue to teach our students every single week at things like Roundtable on those topics. So it's not just modules. If you do certain things with us, we also give a sounding board. When I first started, I was one of Matt's students and I went through his Roundtable, and that's paramount. I mean, to have somebody in this industry that knows all of the ins and outs and being able to pick people's brain, that is, in my opinion, invaluable.
That's awesome, Brittany. I tell you, I'd stack our 42 module senior placement institute against any 10 module courses out there, because that's what most of them are, 10 modules. And it's, man, there's so much more information you need than just 10 modules. I would strongly encourage anyone out there that's looking into this business that you would ask specific questions before you buy any course. And one of the questions you should ask, even beyond the testimonies, which that's a good question too, is really ask the course creator, the person you're speaking to, are they actually doing the business? Not that they have someone doing the business, but they're actually put together the course and are teaching it. Are they actually doing it? Or is it something they did years ago and they're outdated? Like there's a lot of things that I did back in my 20s. I couldn't go back and teach that. I go back and teach it. And boy, I guarantee you, if I'm teaching that content, something I did in my 20s today to a group of people that are experiencing that, they'll be like, this guy is like off his rocker. I mean, my gosh, I mean, he's so like 30 years ago. I mean, that's not the way we do it today. So you want to stay to that. So anyway, we love and appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. If you got any value today and you stayed with us long enough, just click the link down below. We'd love to have a consultation call with you. If you just want to click and subscribe, that'd be great too. Hit your notification bells so you get all the upcoming live videos coming your way. Until next time,